When I was a child, I grew up between two worlds. On one side was my real father, my poor dad, a man with a steady job, a strong sense of duty, and a belief that education was the only true road to success. On the other side stood my friend's father, my rich dad, a man who never finished school in the traditional sense but understood money, risk, and opportunity in ways that most people around us never could. The contrast between them was striking. My poor dad woke up early, ironed his shirt, and left every morning to work for someone else. He measured life by security, stability, and the comfort of a paycheck. My rich dad, however, woke up thinking about deals, investments, and how money could work for him even while he was asleep. As a boy, I absorbed both of their voices. My poor dad would say, "Study hard, get a good degree, and find a safe job with benefits." My rich dad would laugh and say, "Study money, understand how it moves, and you'll never need to depend on anyone else for your livelihood." At first, I thought both were right. After all, who doesn't want security? Who doesn't want to be safe? But as I grew older, I began to notice something. My poor dad, despite being well-educated, struggled with bills. He worried about retirement, about medical expenses, about whether he could support us. Meanwhile, my rich dad, who was far less formally educated, seemed to live with freedom. He had time, choices, and influence. The difference was not intelligence. It was mindset. My poor dad thought of money as something to earn and spend. My rich dad thought of money as a tool, something that should be multiplied and grown. I remember one day when I asked my poor dad for some money to buy a toy. He frowned and said, "Do you think money grows on trees?" Later, I asked my rich dad the same question. He smiled and replied, "Money doesn't grow on trees, but if you plant the right seeds, it will grow anywhere you want." That simple difference in words shaped my thinking. One father saw limitation, the other saw possibility. One spoke of scarcity, the other of abundance. As the years passed, I watched how each father's beliefs shaped their destiny. My poor dad worked harder and harder, climbing the ladder of employment. But no matter how high he climbed, he was still on someone else's ladder. My rich dad built ladders. He created businesses that provided jobs. He invested in properties. He found ways to generate income without trading hours for dollars. I learned that the middle class thinks about income, but the wealthy think about assets. My poor dad valued degrees, certificates, and promotions. My rich dad valued knowledge, cash flow, and freedom. At first, I struggled between the two voices in my head. Should I play it safe, as poor dad advised, or take risks, as rich dad encouraged? The fear of failure whispered loudly, but the promise of freedom spoke louder. One defining moment came when rich dad told me, "If you want to change your life, stop asking, 'Can I afford it?' and start asking, 'How can I afford it?'" That small shift in language unlocked creativity. Suddenly, money was not just a number. It was a puzzle to be solved. I realized then that the poor and middle class work for money, but the rich train money to work for them. That idea sounded strange as a child, but the older I became, the more it made sense. Poor dad taught me to fear debt. He would say, "Debt will ruin you." Rich dad said, "Debt can destroy you if you're careless, but if you master it, debt can make you rich." I later saw how he used loans to buy real estate, which paid for itself many times over. Poor dad believed in saving. He told me, "Put your money in the bank. Keep it safe." Rich dad believed in investing. If you save, inflation eats your money. If you invest, your money multiplies. The tension between those two voices was constant. Poor dad believed life was about working for 40 years, retiring, and hoping the government or company would take care of you. Rich dad believed life was about building streams of income so strong that you could retire whenever you wanted, or never retire at all. Over time, I saw the truth. Security without freedom is just another kind of prison. My poor dad had a steady job. But he was trapped by bills, mortgages, and fear of losing what little he had. My rich dad took risks, but those risks bought him the most precious thing: choice. I remember when my poor dad lost his job. The pain in his eyes haunted me. A man who had given his whole life to a system was left behind when that system no longer needed him. Meanwhile, my rich dad, even when one business failed, had others to support him. He was never dependent on one employer or one paycheck. That was when I understood the biggest difference of all. Poor dad thought the path to success was to avoid mistakes. Rich dad knew the path to success was to make mistakes, learn, and grow. Failure. When Alex was a teenager, he often sat on the cracked steps outside his small, rented home, watching his father come back tired from work. His father was a kind man, honest, educated, and hard-working, but every month ended the same way. Bills piled up, savings vanished, and dreams were postponed again. Across town lived his best friend, Ryan. Ryan's father owned several small businesses, drove an old but paid-off car, and always seemed relaxed, even when others worried about money. He wasn't richer in appearance, but he thought differently. That difference would shape Alex's entire future. One afternoon, Alex heard Ryan's dad say something that confused him. "Don't work for money. Make money work for you." Alex couldn't understand it. Wasn't work the only way to earn? His own father always said, "Study hard, get a good job, and never take risks." Curiosity burned inside him. The next weekend, Alex asked Ryan's dad if he could learn from him. The man smiled and said, "I can teach you how the rich think, but it will challenge everything your father ever told you." His lessons began with something simple yet powerful. Money is a tool, not a master. Ryan's dad handed Alex a dollar bill and said, "This is only paper until you give it purpose." That sentence echoed in Alex's head for years. Back at home, Alex's poor dad encouraged him to focus on grades. "Good grades mean good jobs," he'd say proudly. But Alex started to notice that many educated people around him still struggled financially. Teachers, engineers, even doctors, all stuck in the same loop of earning, spending, and owing. Ryan's dad taught him to see the invisible game, assets and liabilities. He explained that every decision either builds your freedom or your debt. "A car is not an asset if it takes money from your pocket," he said. "An asset pays you even while you sleep." Alex began saving tiny amounts from his allowance. Instead of buying new clothes, he bought a used book on investing. His friends laughed, but he felt something change inside, a sense of control he'd never known before. His poor dad was proud of his discipline, but worried about his ideas. "Be careful," he warned. "Money can make you greedy." Yet his rich mentor said, "Money reveals who you already are. It doesn't change you, it amplifies you." As the years passed, Alex saw the two philosophies collide. His poor dad earned promotions, yet his lifestyle inflated with every raise. Bigger house, newer car, higher stress. Ryan's father, on the other hand, quietly bought small properties, invested in startups, and used his time to mentor others. One day, Alex's poor dad lost his job when the company downsized. His world collapsed overnight. That's when Alex understood the fragility of relying on one source of income. It wasn't his father's fault. It was the system he'd been taught to trust. Determined to break the cycle, Alex started a side business repairing old laptops in his garage. At first, he earned only a few dollars, but each sale felt like victory. "You're learning the power of ownership," Ryan's dad told him. "Even small ownership teaches big responsibility." Soon, Alex realized that financial freedom wasn't about luxury. It was about choice. The ability to say no to things that don't serve your values. That lesson changed his definition of success forever. He learned the power of investing early. Instead of saving just to save, he used his money to buy small assets, books, tools, and later, shares in local ventures. Each decision built a foundation for independence. When his poor dad asked, "Aren't you afraid to lose?" Alex replied, "I'm more afraid of never learning." That marked the moment his mindset shifted from fear to growth. Over time, his business expanded. What started as repairs turned into a tech service company. He reinvested profits, learned accounting, and hired a small team. He discovered that wealth grows faster when shared responsibly. Meanwhile, his poor dad grew bitter about how unfair life was. "People like us never get rich," he'd mutter. Alex tried to show him new ways, but some beliefs were too deep to change. That broke his heart more than poverty ever had. Ryan's father once said, "Poor and broke aren't the same. Broke is temporary. Poor is a mindset." Alex finally understood. His own father wasn't poor in spirit, just trapped by fear and tradition. Years later, when Alex became successful, he visited schools to speak with young students about financial literacy. He told them what no textbook ever taught him, that the real difference between the rich and the poor lies in how they think, not what they earn. He spoke about mistakes too, the times he lost money, trusted the wrong partners, or failed projects. "Failure is tuition," he said. "You pay it, learn from it, and move forward wiser." His rich dad attended one of those talks and smiled proudly. "You've learned the ultimate lesson," he whispered after. "The goal isn't